Welcome to my YouTube channel. This will be my first video ever. I want to start out this video and this channel as a whole by just introducing myself, telling you what I'm going to be talking about, what I'm about, and sharing my story with all that. So let's jump in. This channel is going to be predominantly about the GAPS diet. I've been on this protocol for about 1.5 years now, and it has been a huge part of my healing. Not only has it been a huge part of my physical healing, it's actually instigated a lot of my internal emotional healing as well. This channel is going to be a lot of information about non-toxic living. I'm going to be sharing a lot of the emotional side of the healing journey that I've gone on, and also giving really practical tips on how to do the GAPS diet correctly to keep going and to do it really well for your specific body and circumstance. So I'm in the process of healing myself still of a lot of different things, some of them being IBS, parasite, post-concussive syndrome, dizziness, light sensitivity, headaches, anxiety, brain fog, all of those came along, debilitating menstrual pain, and so much more. I have the hope of encouraging people who are on this journey to encourage you to take control of your health. It's a huge passion of mine to empower the individual. It's something I have been in a process of learning how to do, and I am very passionate about helping people and supporting people while they learn how to do that themselves. Nobody knows your body better than you. So I want to go back and tell a story from the very beginning. I'm going to give you my entire GAPS story eventually. This might end up in 2 videos, but we're going to start with me as a kid. I had asthma, I had Lyme's disease, I had pneumonia pretty bad at one point. I would catch any kind of flu, normal flus, swine flus. I had mono for a while. I had caught so many different diseases. It was insane. My immune system was really weak. And the reality of my situation was that I ended up on a lot of antibiotics. Antibiotics made things worse, ruined my gut, ended up in a harder situation, and at the end of the day, didn't help me at all whatsoever. That would probably be my first step. I'm coming into this world, weak immune system, antibiotics didn't help. Taking asthma medication, inhalers didn't help. By the time I was in high school, my stomach was so sensitive to certain kinds of foods already. When I was in high school, I had decided that I was going to travel to New Zealand. So I went to New Zealand with a missions organization called YWAM, and I loved it, had a great experience emotionally. It was great, would recommend it, but in terms of my physical health, it made it so much worse. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I wouldn't get into all the details, but essentially I was in New Zealand for 3 months and then went to a group of South Pacific islands called Vanuatu. Found out after a while that I was drinking rainwater. It was not a good situation. I had been drinking rainwater for about a month before I stopped, was very sick. Stomach was torn up completely. And as much as I loved my experience there, I also recognized that there was so much sickness there. Almost every single person struggled with some kind of stomach issue. Many people with chronic illness, many people with chronic pain. Came back, went to college, and 7 months into college, I was told by my mother that I needed to go see a doctor because I was in just a little bit of denial about my physical state, and she was like, something's wrong. I ended up going to a doctor, and they tested my stool, and it was as disgusting as it sounds. Came back positive for different kinds of parasites. Probably not positive for as many as I ended up having, which we can go into later, but I was pretty sick. So I went on more rounds of antibiotics, and you can see kind of this pattern where it's just quick fix after quick fix after quick fix, and none of it's working, and I'm really disconnected from my body at this point. Was so disconnected that I knew that there were certain foods that I couldn't handle. I wasn't at the point where I wanted to stop eating those foods, so I would eat them, get sick, eat them, get sick, and I was to the point at that point where I was getting sick almost every single day. I had chronic diarrhea, my stomach pain was bloating, horrible gas, it was just not good. So my face went red because I'm talking about my poop. So it got so bad that I actually got so tired of eating because of how much pain I was in all the time. I made a vow at one point that I was like, I'm just gonna stop eating entirely. I'm gonna be done eating, which obviously doesn't work. And I had no eating disorder type behaviors. I really didn't. but I was really at the point where I would just get in so much pain from eating that I was done. And so I went to the cafeteria one day with all my friends and I grabbed a glass of water. Everybody else grabbed their food and I sat down with my water because I was like, I'm done. Screw this. I was so angry with my body. Took one sip of the water and had to run to the bathroom because my stomach was in so much excruciating pain. I won't get into it, but it wasn't good. Yeah, that was just a sip of water. I was beyond myself at that point, getting sick from water, which I thought that was good water. And yeah, I just felt really stuck. I felt really stuck in my body. I felt really helpless and powerless in my body. If I can't have water, what am I supposed to do? I was struggling. And so I went to a doctor, and this doctor was kind. She gave me a lot of time, but at the end of the day, she told me just to cut more foods. FODMAPs, and at that point I had tried cutting foods, so the food list was just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and down Whole30 up the yin yang in a college cafeteria, and I was tired of it. And then she's throwing other things on me, and at this point I had my sophomore year gotten my second pretty bad concussion. So I ended up with 3 concussions, first from surfing, from gymnastics, and then I got hit by a banana boat. I can tell those stories another time and talk about the brain issues that came out of that. I ended up with my second concussion, needing to drop out of school because of how much pain I was now in my brain. So now I have the gut issues, and now I've got the brain issues. I've got brain fog, I've got chronic dizziness, I couldn't drive. I ended up in the hospital because I was so dizzy that I couldn't walk, pounding migraines all day long every day. Dropped out of school, took some time, rested, went back to traveling. Again, was an amazing experience, and I felt led to do it, but came back sick, more sick. And I think I came back, I was 21 days constipated after that trip. I was on some malaria medication, and it just decimated my gut. My brain at that point had recovered from the second one, but then I came back. Some time I was getting into nutrition, it was starting to help me, so more it wasn't getting worse. And then I got my third concussion, which pretty much took me out for a while. It was probably 2 years of chronic migraine, dizziness, brain fog, memory issues, all kinds of things. I was pretty much at a low. I was still in college at this point. It became even harder to do the healing of my brain and my gut while I'm in school. Made it through school somehow, but I was not doing well. And I remember at one point just really crying out to God, saying, God, I just need your help. I need help. It's something. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling powerless, and I just need help. Literally, it was the next day that I had a friend of mine reach out to me telling me about broth. That's how it started. She had healed herself of rheumatoid arthritis using the autoimmune protocol, the paleo approach autoimmune. It's a nutrition-based autoimmune protocol that has had great success for a lot of people. Well, I started moving in that direction, and I was reading that book, getting to know what it would mean for me to be on this protocol. At the point I was engaged. My husband and I knew we were gonna try this out once we got married. Everything there was to know about this one diet, and then weeks went by. I phased myself into it, and it minimized a lot of symptoms, but it didn't fully get to the healing that my brain needed. I can go into details about that at some other point. I did neuro rehab, got me 50% there, but it wasn't progressing. Now, I didn't do it for a long time until I found GAPS. Another friend of mine introduced me to GAPS, and it just felt right to me, so I ended up going with this protocol. I don't know how to explain it other than it just was a yes in my heart to give it a shot. And so I ended up on GAPS. We started, I think we were 4 months into marriage, and took a plunge into the introduction protocol. We learned how to make meat stock, we learned how to make sauerkraut, we learned how to do all the dairy. At that point, I was so allergic to dairy, I couldn't have a speck of it in any of my food, but the dairy that I was having on GAPS I could handle, so I was up to a cup of it within the first 2 months. I was doing way better. Yes, I experienced a ton of die-off, and it's still not over, and it's still in a process, but I saw a glimmer of hope in that my first period was not as painful as it usually is. Usually I'm completely debilitated. 3 ibuprofen every 3 hours kind of thing. I would be in so much pain. I went my first period without having any medication at all. And I won't say that every period after that has been perfect. It's been progressively getting better, but the first one I didn't need medication for. Completely shocked. That to me was hope enough to keep going. I'll share more of my stories about different things different symptoms started phasing away eventually, but I ended up choosing GAPS because I knew from reading the books, I dove into all the books, I dove into all the testimonies that this had such an amazing track record of healing people in the way that I knew that I really needed healing. I'm gonna go more into this on this channel about how I have been healing myself, tips and hacks and all of the emotional things that I've been through on this journey. But I want to take you along and I want to show you my life and kind of open up the door to let people in and to let people find hope in their physical healing journey, to let people find encouragement in their physical healing journey. Always love to hear people reach out to me. I am over on Instagram. I'm on as the Holistic Guide. If you want to find me on Instagram, that'd be great. I let out all sorts of things of what I've learned. I just love hearing people's stories. I love hearing people encourage each other, and my heart is just to encourage you guys. It inspires me and it hopefully brings encouragement to you. Thanks for watching.